Hey, what's going on, everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech. And today we're going to be talking about budget zombie aggro. I'm very excited to bring this list to you. As always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about the deck? Is there a zombie or a different black card that I definitely should have put in the deck? Just let me know in the comment section. And if you have any suggestions for upcoming videos, just let me know in the comment section. And speaking of suggestions, sorry if I mispronounced the name again, huge shout out to Duvan CEO, longtime viewer of the channel here, has done a lot of different suggestions here on the channel, and asked, hey, could you do a budget zombie deck for the channel? And I've done a couple zombie videos in the past. I know I did a Golgari zombie deck a while ago, and then I also did a it was actually one of the first budget decks I ever did on the channel here. It was a $50 mono black modern zombies, but we've never done a budget Pioneer zombies list, so that's kind of what we're going to go over today. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's somewhat close to that list from like a year and a half ago, but there's a couple new cards that have came out since then, and a couple different cards obviously between modern and Pioneer as a whole. So let's go and hop into here. So our one drops that we're playing 4 Dread Wanderer and 4 Foulmire Knight as our main one drops, but the best card in the deck, hands down, is Champion of the Perished. Obviously, we're playing 4 copies of that, so we'll talk about Champion in a second. I want to talk about the other 2. So, I really like Dread Wanderer. It's a 2/1 for 1. That's just a really good rate. Sure, comes into play tapped, whatever, but we can also bring it back from our graveyard, which is pretty sweet. I also really like Foulmire Knight. Just having the 1/1 Death Toucher can be really annoying against other aggro decks, just because, they're trying to push through with all their Monstrous Swift Spears and all their bigger creatures, and we can just trade with them, which is pretty sweet. But, late game, we can also just do the adventure side, draw a card and lose a life, which is pretty sweet. If we have 4 mana, we can play that, and then boom, we can play the Foulmire Knight. So, really big fan of Foulmire Knight in this deck. Kind of like is a substitute for like Crypt Breaker for the most part. Alright, so Champion of the Parish. It's the best card in the deck, and it's not even close. This card is really good. It gets really out of hand. It works extremely well with another card that's on our next slide, but I really like Champion of the Parish. I've been playing this deck a lot in Pioneer. I even played the Pioneer version against modern decks and was doing really well. Most of those starts started with Champion of the Parish. The card is absolutely insane. Maybe someday we'll actually get Champion of the Parish for humans, but I don't know. With Champion of the Parish, zombies, I would say, is not quite as strong as humans, and it's really insane. So we'll kind of see what happens, but really love Champion of the Parish. So next slide here, some of our 2 drops that we're playing. We're playing 2 Graveyard Marshal. I've always really liked this card. It's not like the most powerful zombie, but I really do like it in our budget deck. It's a 3/2 for 2, and then it's got a little bit of late game value. Exile a creature card from a graveyard, make a 2/2 zombie, so just a huge fan of the card in general. We're also playing 4 Razorlash Transmogrant. I really like this card. It's essentially like a Scrap Heap Scrounger for those who used to play, Standard a handful of years ago. But, it's just sweet. 4 black, return it from our graveyard to the battlefield isn't that exciting. But it costs 4 less to cast if an opponent controls 4 more non-basic lands, which in this format is not hard to do. So essentially, it's double black, return it as a 4/2. So, huge fan of Razorlash Transmogrant. Then we're also playing 4 copies of Lazotep Reaver. So, I know what you're thinking, because I thought the same thing initially when I started playing this card. Like a 1/2 for 2 that makes a 1/1, that's really not that exciting. But when you pair it with Champion of the Parish that puts 2+1/+1 counters on it, this card is sweet. It's also really good with Lords, because, then we get a 2/3 and a 2/2 out of it for 2 mana is pretty good. So, although it seems like Lazotep Reaver is not that good, I promise you the card is sweet. Even in the non-budget decks, we still play 4 Lazotep Reaver. So, huge fan of this card. So, let's go and hop into the rest of the cards here. So, these are 3 drops that we're playing. We're playing 2 Murderous Rider, because guess what? It's a removal spell that's also a zombie, which perfectly fits what our deck is trying to do. That's why we're playing 2 copies of it. And then our Lords, we're playing 4 Lord of the Accursed and 4 Death Baron, which honestly, these are pretty solid 3-mana Lords. Zombies doesn't have like a mono black, like 2-mana Lord just yet. I'm sure it's only a matter of time, but these are still really good. Lord of the Accursed, obviously, being able to tap and give all of our zombies menace is sweet. I can't tell you how many times I've won using that mode. And Death Baron's also really good, being able to give them Death Touch. I mean, that's just, we could trade with anything. That's just really good. So, huge fan of both of these cards. They're fantastic Lords. It's funny, Death Baron actually was like $1, like a couple, like a year ago, but now it's kind of crept up a little bit, most likely because of skeletons. People are starting to brew with, different skeleton cards and such like that. But anyways, still the best lords that we can play in the deck. And the last side we have to talk about. So we're playing for Fatal Push. It's a solid black removal spell. That's why we're playing it. But for a little bit of spice, I decided to put 2 copies of Liliana Untouched by Death in this deck. It's just a really good Planeswalker for zombies. Obviously, you got the first mode there, which mills you a little bit. If you hit a zombie card, we drain our opponent for 2. The -2 can basically remove any creature, where X is the number of zombies you control. Most of the time, it's going to be, 3, 4, 5 zombies, no problem. And then the -3 doesn't have like a real emblem, but you may cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. So all the removal spells our opponents use on our zombies in the earlier game, we can go boom, Liliana. We're not usually going to do it the turn she comes out, but the next turn, -3, boom, we get to cast all of our zombies. Then we bring back our champions, our lords, and everything that got killed earlier in the game. So huge fan of Liliana Untouched by Death, and it's only $2 a piece right now. So just a pretty solid pickup for the deck overall. So that's the entire main board, except for our lands, which is really, really simple. So we're playing 4 Ifnir Deadlands, 4 Field of Ruin, and 14 basic swamps. So I was joking about this the other day with some of the guys that play up here is, like, oh man, Commander Crane's building a budget monocolor deck. He needs more lands than just basics. And I imagine the Flex Seal guy where he's like slapping the thing onto the big tank, and it's, it's like, me, my budget mana base, and then it's the deserts from Hour of Devastation. But that's just because they're really good. It's just free value. Sure, we're going to take some damage from it sometimes, but those times where we actually activate the Ifnir Deadlands and then we're able to, kill a creature or anything like that is pretty sweet. So definitely a huge fan of Ifnir Deadlands, and really the entire cycle of the Hour of Devastation, Hour of Devastation lands. I really like Field of Ruin in this deck. I was trying to decide what other utility land I wanted to play in here, and I decided on Field of Ruin. I thought about playing the Dross Pits, but ultimately, just being able to take out like different Madlands or Thespian Stage or something like that is just pretty good. So that's why I decided to play 4 copies of Field of Ruin, and then Swamps. So as our spicy basic land of the day, we were playing the Zombie Swamp from the original Jumpstart. As you guys know, I really, really love the Jumpstart lands, and this one is no exception. I believe this one was actually the thumbnail for the original $50 Modern Zombie video, funny enough, just because I really, really like that artwork in general. So let's go and hop into the sideboard here, which is really, really simple. So we're going to want some graveyard hate, at least on a budget level. I would recommend like Tormod's Crypt or Lantern of the Lost. You could also play, assuming you're non-budget, you could play like the Black Leyline, but that's what I would recommend. We're going to want some extra removal and discard spells. So discard spells, I would play 3 to 4 copies of Duress. It's just really good against a number of different decks in the format. You could also play some Go Blinks as well. Extra removal is pretty straightforward. I would either pack like some Go for the Throats or Ray of Revelation, really just depending on what's in your local metagame. Noxious Grass, really whatever for the most part, just depends on what decks you're currently playing against. Vampire Hate, we're going to want some Vampire Hate. I would personally recommend, at least for mono black, on a budget, I would probably play a card like Blot Out, just because it hits their creature or planeswalker with the highest mana value, which their Vein Ripper is always going to be the highest. So, it's a 3 mana solid removal spell, but it also exiles, so they don't get to trigger the Vein Ripper. So something to keep in mind with that. You could also play Pithing Needle to activate on Sorin, but Pithing Needle is also just a really good card in general. And the last one is Necromentia. I always love this in the black decks I do on the channel here. Just being able to get rid of our opponent's like best card out of their deck. Sure, maybe they'll get a zombie or two, but who really cares? We don't, that's for sure. Our zombies are better than theirs anyways that they might make. So definitely a huge fan of Necromentia in the sideboard. And the last thing we have to talk about is the upgrade options for the deck. So obviously it's pretty straightforward. Upgrading the utility lands, getting like some Cavernous Souls, Hive of the Eye Tyrants, Takanumas, that kind of thing. You could also get some Urborgs and some Castle Locktwains. There's definitely a lot of really good mono black utility lands. Cryptbreaker and Relentless Dead. So those are really the only zombies we had to cut from the deck for the budgetary reasons. Obviously, there's some really good substitutes like the Graveyard Marshal and the Foulmire Knight, but I would say if you're looking to upgrade the deck, at least for mono black, definitely get some Cryptbreakers and Relentless Deads, which they're not like crazy high for the most part, but they do add up a little bit. The last thing I want to mention is the budget list is only $44 US. I think the most expensive card in the deck is either Fatal Push or the Death Baron itself. This deck is extremely cheap. It's really, really effective too. I mean, this is a very good mono black aggro deck. Again, Champion of the Parish leading the way with all the other zombies. It's really, really good. The last thing I want to mention is if you're really looking to upgrade the deck, yes, you know, we talked about like the Crypt Breaker, the Relentless Dead, all the different mono black lands, but I would also highly suggest going Golgari with it because you get some really, really sweet cards like Glissa, for instance, which is just really good. It happens to be a zombie. But you also get access to Collected Company, which is really, really sweet. I will have the deck list link in the description below. I know we did the Golgari Zombies deck a handful of months ago, but it really hasn't been any changes for the most part in the entire deck. So I'll have that link in the description below if you're looking to play a more upgraded version of zombies in Pioneer. So this is a really, really fun deck to do. I really love talking about zombies. I think they're just really, really fun to play in Pioneer. Let me know in the comment section below if you do end up building this deck and how it plays for you. So that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about the deck? Is there anything you would change for it? And huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, and Gary. If you are interested in being a channel member, it's only $1 US a month. You get access to the exclusive Discord, as well as a number of other features here on the channel. So strongly consider being a channel member. So I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.